From Harley Davidson, Marc McAllister. First, some supporters to thank, and thank you for listening. Here it is, the fully integrated cloud CX platform that you need to act smarter, respond faster, and be first in CX. Now you can turn innovation into value, scale up when you need, and add new capabilities whenever the situation demands it. One experience, a single unified solution for employees and customers. One cloud, a single cloud offering based on AWS public cloud technology. One path for migration to the CXone platform. The fully integrated cloud customer experience platform from NICE, allowing you to be first in CX. Visit nice.com for more. Leaders responsible for operations, information technology, customer experience, contact centers, customer care, service and support are invited to register for a free CCW digital membership. Membership includes networking with 100,000 plus qualified industry professionals, quarterly executive research reports, product matchmaking, and more. Go to ccwdigital.com to join the community. That's ccwdigital.com.
I am Marc McAllister, Vice President, Managing Director of International Markets for Harley Davidson.
International markets being everything but the United States, is that
correct?
Right?
Yeah.
So does that include Canada?
It does include Canada.
Interesting.
Yes, indeed. A very good market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been in this role?
Been in this role, well, so the international division was established on January 1st. Prior to that, we were divided geographically, Asia Pacific, EMEA, and the Americas, a bit more traditional, I think.
Right, yeah. And so you and I are here at Customer Experience Management Asia in Singapore, which is where your office is.
That's correct.
And it has only been, though, since January, so it's only been 9 months in this structure.
In this design, yeah. I have actually lived in Singapore for almost 5 years.
Okay.
Formerly the Vice President of Asia Pac.
Right.
So, and that's, as we broke this up, this made sense to stay here. And as we look at the world, Asia is where we're looking forward. And so being located here and specifically being out of Milwaukee, our corporate headquarters, it's about really being market focused and making sure that I'm in the work rather than, in the corporate.
Yeah, the percentage of growth just simply being more expansive here than it would be anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that was one of the reasons why we said, okay, Marc, you're already in Singapore. Why don't you take the entire globe? Of course, breaking down the silos, something that we all want to do all of the time. What else, though, went into kind of conversations leading up to January 1st? How did you come upon the structure that you've decided on?
Well, obviously that's not done on your own, and I'm not going to get into all of the conversations. But
from your perspective,
from my perspective, yeah. I mean, we built our business here in the Asia region. So first and foremost, Harley Davidson's a very old company.
Indeed,
right? We're 114 years old, and external to the United States, we're almost that old. Our first export market was Japan. In 1912, 1913, first model year that we sold overseas.
Interesting.
And Australia just turned 100 years this year. So we've got two big mature markets in Asia that are 100 plus years old. So it's not that Asia is just a brand new thing for us, but certainly mainland Asia, as mainland Asia has been developing, China, India, and Southeast Asia. We've invested in Singapore to grow the business from here. And we've been on, since we opened Singapore in 2011, we've been on a steady growth path ever since. And the focus on continuing to drive that business and drive the access to Harley Davidson by opening new dealers, by opening new channels, that needs to be run, somewhat locally and close to the market. So Singapore continues to make sense.
So dealers, okay, fine. Channels, what do you mean by that?
Well, we, as the world matures and in the direction it's heading, you have more and more participation in e-com, and you need to be present. And this is part of maintaining the relevance of your products as well as your brand. You need to be present, in a connected world, on everybody's phone. As we know here in Asia, you can't live without a phone.
Right. A hand phone even, right?
Yes, a hand phone, yes. And a smartphone.
Right.
You know, I mean, it has to be something that you have internet access to and so forth. So we have been working actively to develop, you know, our brand presence through the electronic channels, through social media, of course, as well as the brick and mortar. And another element of our strategy for Asia is, as these major cities develop, we've noticed this kind of mall centricity to life. People tend to congregate. We're sitting here in Singapore, which is full of malls,
Absolutely,
as we know, and it becomes the social space. And to be relevant, you need to be present.
Yeah.
And so what we're working on is making sure that we have a brick and mortar channel that's represented to get our brand in front of people where they're shopping in these mall environments, because you know it lowers the barrier to engaging with the brand, and you don't have to try and get them to go to wherever auto sales and motorcycle sales are down to our dealership. You're bringing the brand to them.
I was struck by coming into Singapore, speaking to everybody that I could. Where should I eat? Where should I eat? Where should I eat? 9 times out of 10, the suggestion was go to the mall and eat in the food court.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The food's great here.
Yeah. That was striking. So I want to kind of come back to digital, and I want to talk about butts in seats, I think you called it.
Bums on seats.
Oh, bums on seats. Excuse me.
It's a bit more global to use the word bum.
Indeed. You know, you just did a session here, and slide after slide after slide was focused on, here's folks riding bikes. Here's more folks riding bikes. Here's folks riding bikes. Talk about, you know, that inherent kind of attachment that you have to the brand and to the machine, you know, in experiencing it. It seems to be kind of, I don't know, metastasized for your specific brand versus maybe others.
That's an excellent word. I like that. So I think what we see from our customers and the passion that we generate is experiencing the product, but it's not just the machine. It's much more than the machine. It's about the freedom, the expression of individualism through riding a motorcycle and riding a heavyweight motorcycle and riding a Harley Davidson. And, you know, whenever we talk to our consumers about what's the value in the experience, it's that freedom. It's that, you know, that emotional, passionate response they have to being out and about on a motorcycle. Because in today's world, when we have, as we talked about, smartphones, right? Yeah, it's great to be on your smartphone, but we all want to escape from it sometimes.
Certainly.
And that's an avenue that Harley Davidson can deliver upon. So we want to make sure that people get that experience and get the social aspects of that experience, because it's not just an escape, it's an escape with your friends. There is more to it than just jumping on a bike. Now, of course, there's plenty of us who enjoy actually getting away and riding on our own.
Sure.
But that engagement with other riders who share your passion, that just deepens the bond.
You mentioned that every 5 years we celebrate that anniversary, another one coming up in 2018, and you'll have events all over the globe to make sure that folks can experience exactly what you're talking about. What are some of the other ways? You know, you just went through it here for folks that weren't in the room.
Oh, sure. To experience Harley Davidson, well, you know, I mean, the best ways to experience Harley Davidson are through the events. If you don't have access to the events,
what I'm saying is, please tell us more about some of the events that you've created.
Okay,
the dark something or other.
Dark Custom Tour.
There we go.
Yes, Dark Custom Tour running in country and market city near you.
What is that, for instance?
So it's an experience where we get back to this access conversation, right? We dealerships are the focal point of where we want people to experience the Harley Davidson touch points, but you don't always have a dealership close to you. So how do we build a platform or an experience that's scalable, that you can experience Harley Davidson in your city, in your part of your city, whatever it may be. And so all across the world, actually, we run Dark Custom Tours or demo tours, whatever you want to call them, where those, you know, basically it's a truck full of motorcycles and Harley Davidson accessories and related products that shows up in your town, and you can come down and test a Harley Davidson and test the life and see if it actually fits on. Whether you try on a leather jacket and it fits you, or whether you try on a motorcycle and it fits you, you can experience Harley Davidson.
What's some of the feedback that you've seen on the ground at events like that?
It's fantastic. I mean, you get everything from whole families showing up and the kids wanting to get on climbing all over the bikes, and parents, looking at each other like, okay, how can we make this fit in our life when we have a van full of kids? All of those things. And as well as, you have returning customers who are passionate about the new product and want to experience the new product. And then people who have really never actually considered a Harley Davidson or, heavyweight motorcycling as a pastime. And you see them get on what we call a jump start, which is essentially it's a rolling road so that you can ride a Harley without actually taking it out on the road. And it's stationary test, as it were. But you can go through the gears and you can really, and you see this smile come across their face like, oh, this is what it feels like. And that's the beginning of their journey. And it's fantastic.
That's a great idea. It's basically a bike treadmill, essentially.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Just one more question on kind of a new customer experience. There was a woman from Brunei who specifically said, tell me about the heavyweight bike experience for somebody that is of a smaller stature.
Sure.
I had never even conceived of that question before. And it sounds like you guys have obviously been thinking about it, right?
Yes, of course. And this is not a female specific issue, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of people who, their confidence on the bike comes from being, from actually straddling the bike and having 2 feet on the ground and feeling, okay, I'm stable. I can hold this bike up and I'm confident in the way I ride it. And so we look hard at how we can make our bikes accessible to all statures. And we design it in from as built, like we talked about the 750 being low center of gravity, shorter reach so that the handlebars aren't so far away either, shorter pedals so the pedals are closer to you. Or we also, through our parts and accessories, we can actually modify all of our bikes so that we can reach a much greater range of customers. And by the way, it's not just smaller customers. Here in Asia, we talk about shorter stature customers. You go to Holland and we start talking about, well, this bike's too small for me.
Right.
And now how do I make the controls further away? And how do I sit further back? Because they're all 6 foot plus.
Absolutely.
And so we have to address both ends of the spectrum.
Gotcha. Yeah. Dutch and into the Nordics, we're going to be expanding. Yeah. And then again, as far as kind of new customers, another thing that came up, which I had not conceived of or considered before, electric bikes. Yes. You would never think Harley Davidson and electric, but we're going to obviously start thinking about that, aren't we?
Well, we've already started thinking about that.
Indeed.
Yes. And, the live wire that we revealed in 2014, again, as we were talking about in the presentation, this is about, yes, we have to go there. But we want to make sure that we're going there with our customers. And we want to make sure that we're getting our customers' feedback in the process so that we're designing a bike that meets and exceeds their expectations of a Harley Davidson experience in an electric vehicle. And so we've taken tens of thousands of data points from these vehicles, and we're designing that vehicle, and we'll be bringing it to market before the end of the decade. And this is to meet what a real motorcycle, a real Harley Davidson experience is in an electric vehicle format.
What have been maybe some of the data points that are intriguing to you in terms of that product line?
So the first and foremost, the question you get the most is Harley Davidson is famous for its look, sound, and feel.
There you go.
And the sound piece is the piece that people are really, how's it going to? And I can tell you, after riding the Livewire many times myself, the product has a unique, distinctive sound. Doesn't sound like our current internal combustion. But it does sound distinctive and it does sound impressive. And you really know you're getting that experience when you're riding it. And so we actually got very positive feedback about the sound of the vehicle. From
folks almost being surprised by it, right?
Yeah, because it sounds almost jet engine-like.
So even better type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wow, I didn't expect that. And now they're, so that kind of gets you over and then, of course, the second thing that people, will give you feedback on is it has to be a real motorcycle.
Sure.
They don't want to compromise the ride quality. They don't want to compromise the authenticity of being a motorcycle. And, that's certainly something that the Livewire delivers on.
All right. So that's in-person experience. Mm-hmm. We kind of brushed upon digital earlier. Now let's come back to it. And how can I have this Harley Davidson experience online? How could I possibly do? You've done it as far as electric engines sounding like jet engines, right? Mm-hmm. So you've outdone yourselves. What should I be experiencing as far as the digital interaction, and how are you truly kind of relating that kind of Harley Davidson love online?
Well, the wonders of online are that you don't manage it all yourself, and you have to leverage that community of evangelists to make sure that your voice and your representation is really where you want it to be, but also, that passion is coming through in how customers are expressing themselves. So there's plenty of platforms for that to happen. And we participate in most of the normal social media platforms, mm-hmm. and make sure that we're trying to attract, our fans and make sure we're giving them content. Mm-hmm. And the content is really, focused around the product, but also focused around the experiences, right? So how do you drive content from, we talked about Austria, mm-hmm. and European Bike Week that was last weekend.
Take us through that for folks that weren't in the room.
Sure. So the largest motorcycle event in Europe is European Bike Week. It happens every year in a place called Fach am See in Austria. I apologize for my German accent. And it's been running, for a long time. And this year we had a best ever event, best ever attendance with over 125,000 people showed up. So it's a big event mm-hmm. by a beautiful lake in the Austrian Alps. Absolutely fantastic place to go riding.
Sure.
And people from all over Europe travel on their bikes. Guys from the UK and Ireland get on. If you're leaving Dublin on a Harley Davidson to go to Fach, you're coming on 2 ferries, mm-hmm. and you have to ride across England, get on another ferry, then ride across Europe through the Alps, mm-hmm. and then you end up in Austria for a fantastic weekend of fun, and then you got to ride all the way home.
Right.
And it's a real, it's a commitment. So the event is a fantastic event, and and a way for people to participate at the motorcycles, but also participate socially. So how do you bring that online? Back to the point.
Right.
Facebook live streams, all the kind of participation that you can try and get through getting customers to generate that content, getting curating to a certain extent, but also encouraging everyone to share, because this network of passionate riders, they deliver a much better experience than if you had a single voice.
Right.
So that's important. And then, other online experiences. We talked about Battle of the Kings, where we're getting people online mm-hmm. to participate in judging custom builds. Part of Harley Davidson is our accessorization and our individualization, customization of vehicles. Mm-hmm. How do we get people to participate in an online forum to judge a custom bike show, but might be for that particular event, that is bike dealers from all over Europe build a bike. Mm-hmm. They present it as they can online, mm-hmm. and customers from all over the world get to vote and choose on the best custom bike. And it's a fantastic platform because of course, people are engaged in judging, and there's obviously competitive element, but it also kind of opens people's eyes to what Harley represents from a customization standpoint, and how you can really individualize your motorcycle.
Most folks that I talk to mm-hmm. Bring up a concept of customer centricity. Mm-hmm. And I think, listening to you and also walking with you from the stage to here, where people were literally just excited to talk to you. You have the Harley Davidson shirt on. They want a picture with you. Yeah. There's this love and appreciation for the brand that is unique. Mm-hmm. And it's over a century, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Is it because of a customer centricity that you have.
Absolutely.
Is it because right? Yeah. Let me ask that in a better way. What seems to be the case is that the brand has customer centricity, and I wonder if it's a knowing thing. You didn't mention customer centricity. Every other, kind of brand marketer that I speak to mentions customer centricity as though they have to engage in it. Take me through how this has happened, either knowingly or unwittingly.
Oh, no, certainly not unwittingly. Well, so I'm remiss. I should have mentioned that. We do like to say, we want to be customer led in everything we do.
Yeah,
and we really we go probably a little bit further than you would imagine when we, for our events that we've talked about, we make sure that our employees, regardless of what they do for a day job, get to participate in events and get contact with the customers and get close to customers so that they really develop and understand how valuable that brand experience is for customers. Because whether you work in finance or logistics or marketing, you need to understand the level of passion that our customers have for our product and for our brand so that you're delivering on those expectations.
Certainly. It seems to be muscle memory.
A little bit, yes.
As opposed to, you're right, of course it's cognitive, but there is this muscle memory kind of to it. You mentioned on stage that you guys are the first social network was Harley Davidson Motors, right?
Group. Yeah, the original social network, yeah.
Well, how, as far as the history of the brand, what can you tell us about how that came to be? Was that from the founders, or did it just evolve, or?
Well, that's a great question. I've been around the company for 22 years, and I've seen a lot of Harley. I've worked on every continent with this brand and met customers on every continent. And I've never seen in our history where we weren't talking about our customers and delivering upon events and riding experiences all the way back to the very beginning. This has been more than as you said, more than the machine.
Yeah.
It's really about the passion that we all have for riding. And inside the company, you will find that a lot of us are riders and a lot of us have the passion so we're living it.
Yeah.
And it's living the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So 22 years. So it's only just under a quarter of a century that you've been there, right?
Yeah, I can't. I try harder.
Exactly. So, you mentioned you've been kind of everywhere. What roles have you had, and what have you learned along the way, I guess?
Okay. Well, I started with Harley Davidson as an engineer, a mechanical engineer designing engine components.
I see. Interesting.
Yes. And along the way, I've leveraged what you would say lateral experiences, where you look at the skill set you have and where else could we apply that? And has it been a conscious decision to make all these moves? Absolutely not.
Right.
It's which door opens next.
Uh-huh.
But I went from product development to supplier management, because they were suppliers delivering product for product development. That brought me to Europe, which put me in contact with the sales organization. And then I went over to the sales organization as a result, through, again, leveraging, okay, now I understand a bit about our logistics. So I went into the logistics, and then now I understand a bit about our dealers. I'll go into dealer facing roles. So this has been kind of the path,
right,
and that's brought me to here. Yeah.
Not many engineers wind up, kind of running most of the world, right? It's what I mean by that is it's two different brains. It feels like it's left brain and right brain.
It's still a business.
It's still a business. But there are some folks that are very happy simply being an engineer, and, I don't need to necessarily talk to anyone. I'm here in the shop, and I'm just happy with that.
I think you're being a bit disingenuous to engineers, but yes, I understand your point.
Well, I don't mean to be disingenuous to engineers. I've spoken with many folks who have said, there's two kinds of people, right? Folks that want to manage people and folks that really don't.
Right.
How did you take that engineering mindset into, management of product, management of people?
Sure. Oh, that's a good question. I think about it a little bit. I guess, I've always found it very interesting, fascinating, how teams work and how you get teams to deliver more than they want to. And so I guess that part has been, certainly been able to leverage along the way. I also really enjoy, back to this customer centricity piece. One of my early experiences with the brand was to actually go to Sturgis, and Sturgis is
that's the big one.
That's the big one. Yeah, it's North America's biggest motorcycling event. I think it's the biggest motorcycling event in the world, actually.
Well, that's what we Americans would say, of course, whether it's true or not.
Yes. In the World Series of motorcycling,
there you go. Exactly.
It's the Super Bowl of motorcycling.
Right.
But certainly it's such an amazing experience, and I found it. I rode from Milwaukee, so I had the whole customer experience in getting there. And I just had such a great eye-opening experience that I guess that's always been then in me, that I want to continue to kind of deliver that and be involved with that.
How can I get that to other people?
How do I get that for myself every day, right?
Got it. Yeah. Interesting. All right. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, so when you said Ruth and you grew up in the former Harley executive, you were serious. You really are from the same place.
Yes.
Interesting. Yes. I don't hear that, I guess, is my point.
Right, yes, accents. Well, yeah, you got to avoid judging on accents. It's a careful thing. Yeah, I moved to America basically just right before I went to university, and spent a long time in America, in Milwaukee. Actually, I went to university in Milwaukee. Okay. And hence, I've been tied to Milwaukee ever since.
And hence you sound the way that you sound to my ears.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Were you was your major in engineering? How did you find that?
Yes. How did I find it?
Meaning, as you were either applying for school or, as you were growing up, when did it become apparent to you that you had that brain? Because I do not have that brain, is my point.
That's a very interesting and timely question, as I have a son who's on the same path. Very early. I was the kid who used to take everything apart at home and upset my parents because I wrecked things a lot. Because you got to be able to put them back together and have them work. That's not necessarily the outcome.
Mom, Dad, don't worry about it. This will pay off later.
Later, much later.
Right.
And that's how I got into engineering. But engineering then opened my eyes to business and how the whole organization works, and that is so. I think it's exciting to an engineering mind because there is a process behind everything, and you have to understand. If you're intellectually curious, you want to know how it all works and take it all apart and understand it. And I think that's where it kind of came from. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be engine.
It doesn't have to be an engine. No. It can be a process end to end. How does a dealer order something and have it show up on their doorstep?
Let's think about every single moment of that journey.
Exactly.
Right?
And why? And again, back to customer experience. Why are they ordering it? And is there a reason that we should look at the process for improvement? Yeah.
And just quickly on your son, where are we in the process? He is an engineer, or
no. He's in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's into engineering, and we're seeing where we want to do and what we want to.
Well, he's genetically cursed because both my wife and I are engineers originally. Yes, so I'm not sure he can escape.
It's in the blood. There's nothing you can do about it. All right, so I've got 3 final questions for you. I'll tell you what they are. I'll ask you them in order. What has most surprised you at work? And this is along the way of your career. What's most surprised you in life? And then on the soundtrack of your life, one track, one song that's got to be on there. I have an idea of what it might be.
So,
what's most surprised you at work?
What's most surprised me at work? Wow. I guess still today, after working on many continents and being on this long journey, how well I fit in this whole thing. You know, you always look for where's the moment that you're not quite cut out for this.
Yeah.
And it continues to be exciting and interesting, and every time we move, we say, okay, well, you know, now what? And it works out brilliantly. So I love that.
Is there a key to that? Is there a key question that you ask on the way into a new place, a new position?
Ooh, a key. We do have, yes, my wife and I, because, by the way, we're both immigrants to America, and we love America, and we've enjoyed working there many years, and we love working elsewhere. And we've lived in, I think, 5 countries. Everywhere is great for their own local greatness.
Sure.
And we really enjoy that. It's about, okay, we have to give this at least a year, 9 to 12 months, to figure out what it is, what's so great about this place.
Got it.
Right? And on the surface, you move places that you don't immediately see it. And then it comes through, and you're just amazed that you didn't understand it.
Yeah.
So that's that one. What's
so that's a big question, right? Yeah, I think
we kind of fell into that one.
Yeah, so we can merge those two if you'd like.
Sure.
All right. So then, on the soundtrack of your life, Mark, one track, one song that's got to be on there. You realize "Born to Be Wild" has to be at least one of the answers. That was the.
Thank you for that cliche answer. Well, as a Dublin boy,
yeah.
I have to pick.
I know what's coming.
Yeah, I have to pick a U2 song.
Right.
And, you know, in fact, I had a funny, I'm not sure this will make the tape, but just a funny life experience. I recently saw U2 in Dublin in July at Croke Park. And it's the first time I had seen them in that stadium since I was 16. And I took my children, which is a funny experience.
Yeah.
To take your kids who are almost the same age as you to see them at a concert that you went to, you know, that's a life experience. But to make that to end this point, I think it has to be "Beautiful Day," right? So
fair enough, and that is it's a great song from them. I do wonder, just take us into the stadium. What were you seeing, experiencing? What were they seeing, experiencing? You said it was completely unique. Of course, there's the band and there's you. But I'm saying with the kids there, what did you experience that you?
That's good. Yeah. So we don't just have our son. We got 3 kids. And the way the 3 of them enjoyed they all loved the concert, but they enjoyed it differently, which was just amazing to me. That, you know, because these 3 kids, they grew up in the same house. They listen, you know, they get forced to listen to the same music from their parents. You know, they were forced to come to this concert. And yet there was different moments throughout the evening where they all kind of engaged differently. My middle child had listened to the songs. She knew the words. She was participating and singing along. My son, not so much at first. It took him a really long time to warm up, but then he kind of came alive at the end and was really into it. You know, I guess it was great.
Just watching life happen type of thing.
Exactly.
Amazing. Mark, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right on, sir. And there you have Marc McAllister. Really appreciate the thought and energy that's going into reinventing the product for the 21st century and, you know, new and different riders while keeping the same kind of culture. So appreciate Mark's time, appreciate yours. Stay tuned.